really big is happening with India's industry right now. It's in the middle of a massive transformation, really moving away from the old way of doing things and forging a brand new path for its economy. Today, we're going to break down that leap.
Okay, so think about the world right now. It's fracturing, right? Supply chains are all shifting, the old rules are getting tossed out the window. So how does a nation like India not just survive, but actually build a solid future for itself?
Well, the answer seems to be a complete change in strategy. The old playbook, just trying to have the cheapest labor, that's a dead end. It's just a race to the bottom. The new goal is way more ambitious. It's to become an absolutely essential, indispensable part of the global economy.
All right, so what is this new rulebook? What does it actually look like? It really boils down to a fundamental shift in what it even means to be a manufacturing powerhouse today. And believe me, this change is huge. The old game was pretty simple. Who can make it for the lowest cost? That's it. The new game is all about strategic indispensability. It's not just about price anymore. It's about becoming such a critical and reliable part of the world's production networks that you simply can't be ignored.
To get this, you really need to understand something called global value chains, or GVCs. Just think about the phone in your pocket. The screen was probably made in one country, the chip was designed in another, and the whole thing was put together somewhere else entirely. That whole network, that's a GVC. And the goal now is to be a crucial link in that chain.
So, with that new reality in mind, how's India actually doing? Because honestly, when you look at the slowing world economy, the story coming out of India is one of surprising resilience and some serious momentum.
Check this out. In the first half of the fiscal year, India's industrial sector grew by a very strong 7%. That's a really solid number, especially when you look around and see other big economies kind of struggling to get by. And this isn't just a flash in the pan. There's this thing called the PMI, which is basically a health check, a confidence meter for the manufacturing sector. It has stayed way above the 50-point mark. Now, anything over 50 means things are expanding, so this shows there's sustained optimism from the businesses that are actually on the ground. And this growth looks even more impressive when you put it on the world stage. I mean, look at this. In the third quarter of the year, while Europe's manufacturing was basically flat and Latin America's was actually shrinking, India's output just kept on growing. It really stands out as a bright spot global.
But here's the really important part. It's not just that India is manufacturing more. It's what it's manufacturing. This number shows that almost half of India's manufacturing value is now coming from medium and high-tech stuff. So this isn't just about making more things. It's about making more complex, more valuable things.
Now, a big shift like this doesn't just happen on its own, right? It takes a deliberate push. So let's go inside the engine room and look at the specific policies that are really powering this whole transformation. At the heart of it all are a few key government moves. You've got the Production-Linked Incentive Scheme, or PLI, which literally rewards companies for making more stuff in India. Then there's the National Manufacturing Mission, which was like the long-term blueprint for the sector. And, of course, the incredibly strategic India Semiconductor Mission, which is all about building up the country's own chip-making capabilities. Okay, to really see how this plays out in the real world, let's just zoom in on one area where this strategy has created an absolutely dramatic turnaround: electronics manufacturing. I mean, this one sentence just says it all. In less than a decade, India has completely flipped the script. Think about that. It went from a country that mostly bought phones from other places to becoming the world's second largest hub for making them. And if you want the numbers to back that up, hold on to your hat. Back in 2015, India produced about 180 billion rupees worth of mobile phones. By the latest fiscal year, that number rocketed to over 5.4 trillion rupees. That's, a nearly 30 times increase? Just staggering growth. And this all ties back to that bigger picture, that bigger strategy we talked about. The semiconductor mission is a huge piece of this puzzle. It's about building up skills and capacity in one of the most critical technologies of our time. It's a massive, long-term bet on becoming technologically self-reliant. So this is where we get to the real heart of the story, the ultimate goal. Because it isn't just about being a better manufacturer. The real pivot is to go from being a country that just adopts technology to one that actively creates it. And you can actually see this happening in the numbers. Just look at India's climb up the Global Innovation Index. I mean, going from 66th place just a few years ago all the way up to 38th, That shows real, tangible progress in the country's whole innovation ecosystem. But there's a catch. There's a big challenge hiding in that data. In India, only about 41% of all the money spent on research and development comes from private companies. Now, to put that into perspective, in the world's innovation leaders, places like the US or China, businesses are driving over 75% of R&D. So you can see the gap that India really needs to close. And the good news is, there are some major moves happening to fix exactly that. The Anusandhan National Research Foundation is being set up to give research a clear, high-level direction. And alongside it, a huge 1 trillion rupee fund is being created to provide low-cost financing, basically to encourage private companies to jump in and invest in that high-tech R&D. Okay, so where's all of this going? What's the end game? Let's take a look at the long-term vision, the path India's trying to build for itself all the way to 2047.
Well, the long-term roadmap is really built on 5 key pillars. It starts with making it easier to do business and, of course, boosting R&D. But it's also about the fundamentals, skilling up the workforce for future jobs, building top-notch infrastructure to cut costs, and crucially helping that huge network of small and medium-sized businesses grow big enough to compete globally. Now, a big part of this whole strategy might sound a little weird at first. It actually involves being a big player in importing components, assembling them at a massive scale, and then exporting the finished products. But this approach acts like a powerful engine for the economy. It creates a ton of jobs and steadily increases the value that's added right there at home. And so this all leads us to the big final question. With this new strategy really taking shape, focusing on high tech, on innovation, on getting deeply woven into global supply chains, will India actually pull off its next great leap? Can it really become that indispensable engine of the global economy? All the pieces are being put on the board, but the final moves? Well, those are still to be played.